Welcome to Healing from Within. I'm your host, Tony Valen. You can contact me, Tony@TonyValen.com, or visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow the show on Twitter, @TVHFW. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just search Healing from Within with Tony Valen. Joining us on today's show is Jenny Sight. Jenny is a Christian high-level psychic medium remote viewer. To learn more about Jenny, you can go to jennysight.net, like her on Facebook, and follow her on Twitter. Jenny, welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thank you for having me.
We are so excited to have you, as we are with all our guests. So let's get started with the first question I always ask. What are your gifts, and how did your journey begin?
My journey actually began, which is kind of an unusual story. Actually, when my mom was pregnant, I had a vision when I was a baby, and inside her, and I could hear my mom's voice, and I got the visual of who she was talking to and the ants she was talking to, and then I saw the fluid around me. So it was kind of weird at that age, and I remembered that. And I always told my mom at a young age, and she was around my aunt at that age a lot. So then I just thought I was never born any different from what that perception I had already. So then I began in life. She could never keep me around. I was always exploring, and it didn't matter the consequences of what my mother or my father would say. I was always on a journey of looking and searching for things at a young age. So, which was hard for her to handle because I just felt there was no repercussions. This is the direction I have to go in, and it doesn't matter what you want me to do, I'm still going to try. So, at a young age, I saw them immediately. To me, this is how I interpret to people that I focus on spirit first. Then I see human beings in flesh. My focus is always in the spiritual realm, and then I focus on us as humans. And I just felt I had been comfortable with that, so I don't know any difference from the opposite. I felt comfortable with it. So at a young age, I got tested because I wouldn't pay attention in class, and they put all these wires on my head because I would, in class, pay attention to other things other than what the teacher was saying. And I was always focused on the information that I would come out with these sentences, and they're like, well, why is she talking about this? Has nothing to do with school. But in that room, when they did the testing, they made me lie down at 5 years old. I saw an angel, and it said, do not go to sleep. This is a 5-year-old trying to resist going to sleep and tired. And so I said, okay, I'm not. And so I always was led by them, and they put me in a safe place. I always knew they would never put me in harm or put me in a bad way. I just kept guiding and listening to them. Even though flesh would come in and say, this is what you need to do. I'd say, but these guys are the ones that are protecting me. So then as I moved on through school and all that stuff, I tried to push it away a little bit, but it was hard. But then an instinct would always kick in. It was always keeping me safe. But then at a young age, I would play in the yard and then talk about things with my mom of, there's a child that was, I think, 6 years old, and my mom was like, why are you burying your doll? And I go, because the girl got buried 3 doors down. And she goes, she was just like, how did you know that? My mom at first was like, I don't want everybody to know this, but it was me saying, I can only be this way. So I was never afraid of the judgment of what people wanted me to be like. I was raised Quaker, which is wow. And so as I was developing the church, I feel when you go into a church, you're supposed to feel that spirit because that's what's around me. I know I have a choice either to express what spirit is showing me and say the information or get out of the energy, because those are the two choices, because it's excruciating not to be able to let it flow. My mom was careful how I was around things or how I interpreted things. And we talked about this much because you just didn't want to listen to what we presented to you. You had an agenda. As I got older, it just, as a teenager, it kept you busy and it kept you protected from teenage situations. And then I just started reading people consistently. The biggest thing that I got, my grandfather died. He died in this chair that he adored. And my grandmother remarried, and I went up to him and I said, if you sit in that chair, you may pass away in it. and it unnerved him on that thing, on that situation. But my mom remembered it, and he did pass away in the chair. And I would do it just with ease. I didn't mean to hurt or freak out anybody, but I just wanted to pass the information on. Then I was raised in a haunted house, and I felt native around the house, and I talked to them. And this is information that I didn't talk about with everybody, because it was just, how are you supposed to find people to understand what you're seeing and doing, because they don't see it. So a lot of you keep it within, and then you pick your moments and when you need to express it. And so I did pick my moments. Not that everybody agreed on it, but I did. So I'm one of these kids that grew up with it consistently, and it was a day and night thing. It was in me from a young age to who I am now. I don't know what it's like not to have it. I am in existence from that. That is who I became. And so at a young age, I would go to, we lived in a town that had the VA patients around us, and I would go to these places and go in there and help them. I just felt a need to help somebody understand something. And so it was just a desire inside, can I help you figure something out or help you heal for something? So later in life, I used it in so many possibilities that it saves your life for things. And then I just got comfortable and said, you know what, I'm just going to come out with this. And when I did, it just felt comfortable. And so I've just never stopped. And spirit is funny. They can be hilarious about things. They get irritated when you don't remember things. They don't remember stories. So I feel that I'm more of a person that is more on the spiritual side of being their attorney, of giving them the story and letting them speak their words. But I do not favor flesh over spirit. I just give the information. But I'm a fact reader. I don't like to be in front of a person and read them. I rather just have a sheet over me and just live off the energy. And I just tell them to give me a subject, whether it's career, financing, money, missing persons. I just want the cold feeling of picking up the energy.
I had a couple of questions, if you don't mind. You've
Sure.
given us quite a bit of information, and I wanted to back up a little and ask you some questions that came into my mind. The first question I wanted to ask you about is, you heard your mom before birth. So how old were you when you started remembering that you heard your mother?
Because you're in your mom's stomach. So I'm going to tell you when I felt, because I see the body and how it felt and everything, I'm going to say I was maybe 6 months. But I saw this light, and I saw this fluid stuff around me, but I kept looking up, and I hear this vibration of this voice. And then, so it was weird, and it was a memory I was supposed to remember. And that's what was weird about it. I know a lot of people say they were 3, and I'm just like, I was literally born to know you're supposed to know this stuff. You're supposed to hold this stuff. And I have seen stuff on this flesh realm of spirits. They drop in information, give you enlightenment, and know that these are your teaching tools. But the trust is the biggest thing. Trust is huge with spirit.
Do you mean like trusting what you're receiving, or they trust you and giving it to you? I
tell people, you want spirit to communicate with you? They're not a skeleton closet you can pull out when you need them. You have to nourish it every day. When you nourish it every day, it's like Wi-Fi. Right there. They're there. You nourish them, they will nourish you. And then you grow from there, and they show you more. And I always feel that once you open that door of spirit and communication and learning, you can't shut it. You have that information that's installed in your conscious state, and it'll never go away. For me, it's like you have to keep going higher and higher and reaching more and more information wherever and there's always been resistance. I am not one that I could do this, I could do this, I could do this. And I always tell people, I'm grounded at Jesus' feet, because at the end of the day, I make sure and I understand that the information comes from them, and I am the tool, the vessel that gets the information. I cannot do nothing without them presenting the energy. Everything is done through them. And I ask myself every session that I do, you want me to do this anymore? Is this what I'm supposed to be doing? So I always check in with that. That's important to not go in beyond that ego. And that's why I always make sure if I'm going to do this, I'm going to be grounded, always.
Got it. And the energies that you work with, are they all types of energies? In other words, if you have an evil or bad spirit connecting with you, do you connect with them as well and give those messages, or how do you resist those?
No, I tell you how I resist those. I use a lot of prayer. When you present your energy to somebody and someone just has a lot of energy that feels heavy, okay, and this is what I tell people, you have to identify what is your energy and what is theirs, and something that feels off balance. So I feel when you take on something negative, you have to allow it in. And when we decide to allow someone's energy that they present to us and we just embrace it, and then they don't understand why they're feeling negative or they're feeling sick, and so it's because you did not identify what is yours and what you took on. And so I'm very good at the balance of understanding. And negative right away is very strong with me because it comes on the left shoulder always with me. It always comes with a sickness and a headache and a dryness. And then right then, I will get myself out of the situation, and then I will do a prayer in the name of Jesus, and then, do those prayers to bind it so it does not interpret. But, I can tell you I've never really had a lot of negative present to me because I think they do know that I will identify it right away. And I do reach to my prayer books to relieve it right away. And when I do a healing, I do from your feet up, and I look inside your body, and I look at all the conditions and problems. But all that stuff is done through prayers that I have asked Spirit, lead me to the right books, lead me to the right information that I need, and they show you. These are what you need to use. And so I'm blown away every time that I do something, and they say, this is what you need to use. And I do. The condition, and the healing is amazing feeling when someone gets it and they feel great. There's nothing like it on earth. It's unbelievable.
On your website, you stated that you have studied many different religions. Which ones stand out for you and why?
The one that stands off, it's not just study. I put myself in the mix of these people. Like, here's for instance, Jehovah's Witness post. Most people, when they come to the door, people push them off. I'm the person that says, come on in. Because I say that Spirit says, you know what, this is a good time to test, what you know and debate what you know and talk to them. And I would talk to them for hours about stuff. And then I'd say that's the religion that wasn't so judgmental towards me, and they embraced it and would talk about it more. So I wanted to be out there talking and conversating. I would also talk to Mormons. They were the ones, when I went into the religion with that one, that after 3 or 4 times they would come to the house, they could not wrap their head around, how can you know this information? We are taught that you are not able to know this information. And I'm like, I'm going to lay this information on you, what I know and what you're doing and what's going on in your life, because they were young, how your mind shifts, you'll suck up the information, but then you have the elders that come in and tell you, sorry, that is black magic. You don't go over there anymore, you don't talk to her. I just felt that Spirit says, teach them something, show them that this is not negative. Those are the situations I've been in. I am a Christian. I believe a lot of biblical information, but I feel that the Bible has been tarnished in so many ways. I feel that Spirit shows me which ones are true and which ones are not. And I just feel that there's a lot of religions that are mixed together. If we put everything together, things would make sense of that Bible, but it's so tarnished. So you have to I go through what Spirit says, what is real and what is not. And they've literally showed me verses, look up this verse, and I look it up, and it has to do with the situation I'm dealing with. So I do my best, but one that I feel it's a good religion for demonology and understanding is the Catholic, what they'll limit you to access. But I don't believe in idolizing. So there's a lot of things I don't agree on that religion too. And which is funny because my husband's Catholic, and so we can debate about this forever. And so that culture is different. Quaker was very intimidating religion that I learned about. They really put intimidation and wanted you to confess your sins. And I went to a camp at a young age, and they had one person on one side, one on the other, and they were like, you have to confess your sins. And I walked out of there and said, you don't know what you're talking about, and I am with him. And so at a strong age of 8 years old, walking out and being able to, I just had no fear. I said, they're leading me out, I'm going. So I don't like the brainwashing. I believe that your faith is within you. I believe your communication with God is existing with everybody. I believe that God knows who you are and he can communicate with you daily. You don't need a church or society to communicate with him. It's who we are. I believe the judgment of all the Christians. You're not supposed to be so judgmental.
Absolutely. You're supposed to have unconditional love.
Yes.
So to ask a question, and I think you may have already answered it, do you feel conflict between being a Christian and being a psychic medium, or what have the religions told you about this?
Yeah, and I get a lot on my Facebook. I get a lot of Christian haters. They're like, you can't be a psychic. I go, you look at the gifts of the miracle, the gifts of the prophecy, the gifts of tongues. It's presented them a certain way. It's preached to them a certain way. And so they are closed-minded and accepting it, and until you bring them facts, and usually when I go into a Facebook discussion, I don't give up. I will show pages and pages of information. I do a lot of, Jimmy Swagger, he has a study Bible that I use, and it's thick and it's big, and it goes into graphic details of interpretation and stuff. And so I believe that's when I have to stand up, because if you don't stand up, no one's going to learn anything. And it's a subconscious mind to shift your mind and accept what you feel inside instead of what society tells you you're supposed to believe. Go within you to find the truth. Believe what you can't see. Trust what is appearing to you. Spirit has never led me down the wrong path. It has never showed me, this is going to hurt you. I've done a missing persons case where they have led me in a situation that I was totally shocked by, because I went on a drive. This was the first time I went on a drive, and the energy told me this is not it. And then when it shows me where I need to be, it's heavy or it's light. So it pushed me in another direction. I went down this road where no one thought this person was going to be. And I went down the road, and then we turned around, and there's these guys that got out of a truck. They had guns, and I thought, oh boy, maybe you showed me too much. So the gal and I were kind of scared, and we got out of the truck and sat back in the truck, and I just told her, listen, I just want Spirit to guide us through here, so if I tell you to push on the gas, push on the gas. So we got through it. I went back, talked to the mother of the situation. I called the police, and I said, this is the area you need to be looking in. And so that overwhelms me when they're like, whoa. And that's, so I'm careful to how far I trust them. I don't want to put myself in harm's way. So I'm careful with that.
How do you know, or how does the police know? Like, one of the things I've always wondered about with people that, can see missing people or can find people that have been, murdered or whatnot. How do the police react to you whenever you give them information without making you a suspect?
What I do? This is how I do it. I go through the family, because when the family contacts me, they're at their last point of things, okay? Mm-hmm. Or when it's a case of an energy that presents very hard, then you just have to call them. And I always say, you may not want to hear this, but it might help your case. And it'll tell you on most of my pages, Missing Persons is about giving the information and helping someone, okay? So I say, I don't do this for money. This is because I feel you need the energy. So the cops are more open to that and understanding that. I said, my name does not have to be presented in this situation at all. As long as you get the information and it helps the case, that's all that matters. So I've done it in a case in Montana, and then I presented that to the officer, and I said, this is the information. These are the two guys. This is what's going to happen, and she's not alive. And he, at that point, had to be a certain percent. He goes, if you're getting any more information, you need to call me back. Well, I saw within 24 hours they had two guys. It fit the descriptions that I told them. And so you have to sometimes just say, it doesn't matter what flesh is telling you. It matters what Spirit is telling you. present the information. And so I did. You have to look aside and go, I cannot worry about the judgment. I have to worry about what I'm supposed to do here.
And before we go further in that discussion, because I definitely want to get more in depth in that, I want to take a step back and ask you, talk to us about the process of being a psychic medium. How do you connect? Do you have the normal modality that most mediums and psychics do, or do you just automatically connect? Do you do meditating in the mornings? What is your procedure?
With me, I thought the meditation and all that stuff was really important, but what I found out, I was always already existing, nourishing it every day. There's a frequency that I stay in. I don't have to build it up. It's consistently there. So that's why I tell people when they start a reading with me, and I don't ask for a birthday, I don't ask for any information. The only thing I ask for is you pick a subject, and if it's a mediumship situation, I said, just give me the name. Then I don't expect them to say anything. I just present. So it's like opening the door, saying the name, and then Spirit's like, okay, let's get ready. So then they start channeling the information. And I start just letting my mouth flow with the information, and when Spirit's done talking, and then I like dealing with the people that totally do not believe, because their mouth and their energy shifts when you say something that they're like, there's no way. There is a way through Spirit. But I like the debaters. I like the ones that, because this information's for me. I didn't pick this. It was picked before I was existing, what I was supposed to do. As long as they want me to do this, as long as they present things to me that are put in my path daily, that I'm supposed to help people, I will do it. And I'll go far to help them. And that's what it's about. I will not talk myself into doing something that I don't think I have the ability to. I'm very much a skeptic of what I need to do. They do push me. And I'm the one that wants to be tested in the way of where am I limited at? I want that. I want to know where that's at. And I've always been seeking that. But what I have figured out that people have told me, how do you know all this information? How are you getting this? Because I wasn't raised around psychics. I wasn't around. And when I developed and went into psychics, they wanted to know where I got the information. I said, Spirit, they have always shown me. This is what they show me the truth is. I just see a different interpretation of language that they use from what study people have done into the spirituality of different wording to what I do. But it comes out the same, It verifies as the same. This is the thing that's very important to me. You start with a spiritual situation with a person. When your spiritual situation, whether you can afford it or not, because it's about fulfilling the experience and making sure it's a positive one and they have the information. And if you let money limit that, you're limiting what you're supposed to be doing.
Yeah, I agree with that. What is a faith healing?
Faith healing is when you do a reading, and when I think people need to understand what they feel that protects them. Most people I ask, and that does incline into a reading, I go, one of the first things I ask is, what do you feel that protects you in the spiritual world? And, they'll talk about their religion. And so if they're comfortable enough, I will use a lot of prayers in the reading, and especially with healing and emotion, because I want to put the language where the person feels comfortable. I don't force any type of religion on them. You're the one that has to know what protects you. So you have to decide what type of reading you're going to need, and if you're going to need me. And once I did the prayers and everything, they're like, Jen, this has changed me and one of the way I look at things. Because a lot of people, they want to be accepted. They want to be loved. But sometimes I think within the churches, they make them feel like, to getting to that point, walking in that door, they feel like they're going to be such judged. And so working online, you're in a private situation where they can really flow with their energy and not feel like they're going to be judged so much. Psychics are needed because there's a privacy with them that they feel perfect about. I know that they understand me and they're not judging me. And that's what they want. They want to get to a healing point in their life. They want to get over their past. The only way you can do that is by identifying what is going on with them and surfacing the pain and setting it free and sending it into the light.
The faith healing part of it is, and I'm trying to get this clear, when we're talking about a faith reading, it is about trusting in what you're telling them? Is that, I'm not
trusting in what they feel they're protected by. Faith healing is I do a lot of prayers. So when they feel that they need to be protected by something, I want you to call in. I want you to do prayers for me. I want, that they decide. If they're Catholic, I still do prayers with them. You know what I'm saying? Because to me, I don't put it in categories of, I can only pray for you because you only have this religion. And people that don't have any faith, I do try to change them and say, I just feel you need some protection. And if this is what I don't force and, intimidate somebody, but this is here if you need it. If you feel like you can give yourself into this or have faith, I'll help you. I don't make anybody feel bad about anything. Faith healing to me is reviving your faith, pulling in energy that makes you feel balanced and to feel that you can call that support system behind you that you didn't think was there, right, and giving them the tools to use daily. I believe in making people not codependent on me, independent, that they can reach to those tools, use those books, and say, hey, I got it on my own. And that's awesome.
Can you tell us a little about spirit identifying?
Spirit identifying is when an energy, and I do picture identification too, is a spirit, and it depends on which realm it's in, but this is where an issue where I get on Facebook, and people post pictures, and I'm like, they're like, isn't that such a nice picture? I go, yes, it's so nice. Do you see the spirit over it? Yeah. And then you have to, my eyes are perceptive to see that first, and then I show them, and you have to take their conscious state of just pointing out, getting them to perceive it different, and then they go, whoa, I didn't see that. So a lot of that I could do in print, and then if an energy, they call me and go, Jen, I'm feeling a certain energy, can you identify? The biggest thing with me is I ask them, what name are you getting? Are you hearing a name? Are you getting a repeated message? And then sometimes with that I do an automatic writing with it, which I write down and I challenge what spirit says about that energy, and then I give them the information. That's the thing with the missing persons. I use a lot of automatic writing because you pick up the environment and how the energy feels and tastes and smells and how heavy it is, putting their story out there. So that's how it is. I need to identify this energy and the spirit and its information. There's different types of energies out there, and we get affected by them daily. You want to go to a place that I tell people to test your boundaries, to test what you're protected by. Mm-hmm. Go to Walmart. You go to Walmart, that energy is just very heavy in there. And so when you put your guard up and you put your identification, you don't let anything in, it's a good place to test that there. And then they're like, it didn't affect me. I'm like, that's good. Then you're working on nourishing, allowing energy in which you're not supposed to allow in. They feel better, because all psychics, all of us healers, we're very particular on what energy we need to be in. But there is times, a lot of us don't talk about, there's days that when you get in bed and your soul doesn't want to move because you've been affected by an energy that you don't know where it came from. We're not perfect. We don't catch it every time. Yeah. We're better at using the tools that we need to be, to keep it off of us. So I think there's a new enlightenment. People are starting to figure out that everything is energy and everything can affect us. And we can grow and learn these tools, and that spirit is there to help you. It's not there to harm you. There is certain entities that are, but that's what comes with identification. So my philosophy, I want to help people understand to get through their healing pattern and get through their life and feel balanced again. And Wonderful. If there's anything spiritually they need, they can call me and they can contact me and they can be nourished. And I don't want to leave someone hanging.
So tell our listeners, what's the best way to get a hold of you?
The best way to get a hold of me is on my website. It's www.jennyssight.net. And that will lead you into my website. And on the website, there is a link to a Facebook group that you could push on there. And it's a group of people that are looking for guidance, and within a group setting with a bunch of psychics that I have in my group to help people. And it's great to enlighten each other in a group setting because they feel like they have support. And sometimes we need it daily. And that group is free because when I do prayers in there, and I'm amazed at the prayer list. There's sometimes 60, 70 comments on the prayers, and they need it that day. So you try to adapt to what Spirit puts in front of you and says, this is what you need to do next. I just trust it and say, okay, what's the next thing for me? And so that group has been awesome, and the energy's great, and I keep it balanced in there, and everybody's learning from each other. You have people that are starting to understand their enlightenment. There are people that have been in their levels for a long time, and they're willing to share and express it. And it's amazing.
Yes, it is. That's wonderful. This is Tony Valen, host of Healing from Within. You can contact me, Tony at TonyValen.com. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net. Follow the show on Twitter at TVHFW. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just search Healing from Within with Tony Valen. So let's talk a little more on something you touched earlier, and I'm really interested in asking about this. Remote viewing. How does that work? How do you do it? And, well, tell us everything you can about it.
Well, at first, this is one of the strongest abilities that came in. What I would do, and I tell people when they start a missing persons case, I don't watch news and the media stuff. I stay away from that. That's just not me, and then Spirit shows me that that's not important. So I tell them, just send me the missing persons report from the police, which is basically just the picture and the last place they saw them. That's all I want. So I don't tarnish any information. I go by that first and that energy. So then I do automatic writing. So I start writing, and Spirit's translating the information. And they go into the environment, the material, the smell, the weather, everything. And so, and it feels when you do automatic writing, I write it in patterns, which is they pick on one area and they'll manifest and talk about that for a while. So it's not like an English language. I would have to go in there and show you how they translate it. So I have to do the automatic writing and then translate it in a form that people understand. But it picks up the environment and the smells, and because basically the missing persons is a target, and then you're picking up the environment that it's leading up to. And then it gets closer and tunes into the energy. But the remote viewing and the missing persons, I find it's always like a haunting. Once you open up that energy, that Spirit stays with you, and then wants this completed. So once I start one, I don't do 500 cases, because I'm going to do a case, I want to do a nourished case that I'm going to help. I don't want to confuse anybody, so I want to give them the information. After I do that, then I work with psychic crime fighters. Tina Cummings on there. She's very, very good at that too. You can go into any of that format, and then you'll see that it is not like any other site on there. It has, a lot of police information that you would look at that and go, wow, this doesn't seem like a psychic site. So that's one of the first places I tell people, because it has such awesome capabilities in there, and you have a lot of psychics that could help you with your case. So I just want to mention that is a great person to start with, is that site, and the people that run it is one of Tina Cummings. She's awesome in there.
And what was the site again? I'm sorry. What was the address?
Psychic crime fighters.
Psychic crime fighters. Got it.
Fighters. And it's an amazing format when you go into the format, and everybody gets confused, but after you get used to it, you'll understand what it looks like. It has, lost people that are missing, and those are all on the main page, and within dates, which in states, they have everything, unidentified body, all kinds of stuff. It's amazing. So the owner of that one is Shelley. It's Hallow. She formatted that, and it's, she doesn't make money off of it, but she helps everybody around. And it's a great place to start when you're wanting this information. And I have my own crimes page, because what I saw is people get very frustrated at a point when their missing loved ones is not found. and they have that frustration. So in that frustration, you have what the cops are limited to giving you. And when they're doing an investigation, they're limited to what they can explore to you. So then I think that's when the healing comes in your conscious state of what you can start to accept. So I think the spiritual part of it is important. I don't believe in taking anybody's hope away, and I don't believe in presenting anybody. If a person has passed on, there's a certain way you need to present it. You can't just tell them that. You have to be very courteous to their lives and don't take their hope away.
Yeah.
It's almost that they know that person is gone, and when they accept it, then you can confirm that. But so my page is for people that want to talk about that and they want to put their information out, and sometimes they just feel like they're not being heard.
You started sharing some of your own experiences with missing people. Can you continue to tell us some of the stuff you've worked on yourself?
Well, I can talk. I don't specifically give the names out because I don't think it's right.
Oh, no, of course not.
Okay. There was a case that when I was living in Montana, it was around Christmas time, that it was a Native family. And the energy really shifted hard that day on me because I kept seeing it everywhere. And that day, it was funny because I went to a dinner place, and before I wrote all this down, it kind of, when it presents to you and you don't do anything about it, it'll sit on you. And then you're like, no, I'm not going to do it. And then Spirit's like, oh, you are. You'll eventually do this. So I went to a restaurant, and it was funny. They had a bunch of Mormons in there, and there's a bunch of Native people in there. And I feel those are signs going there, wanting me to focus on this. And then I went to a carpet place that day to pick out a certain carpet, and it was the same image I got for a picture of one of the people that on that report that day. That was the blanket that I kept seeing. And it was an unusual carpet color, and I'm thinking, wow, this is amazing. So it's like a haunting. It's like, okay, how many more signs do I need to show you that this is going to happen? So I went home and did the report. And I was doing a different job for a living. I was in construction. And I wrote down, and sometimes when I write and do the automatic writing, I kind of tell people why I'm talking about it. Well, my boss, 3 months later, he's like, you need to read the newspaper because what you told me and what you were writing is in the paper now. So when I see that, to me, it just clarifies what Spirit's saying. I'm like, okay, it's not instant. It can be, 10 years, it can be 5 years, it could be 3 months, but it's going to show the evidence that's presented. The information is all through what they channel and tell me to write down, and times, dates, all that information is so important. Then I presented in that case, I thought this is, they're going to find when the winter's over, and that they were only going to find 2 bodies. I knew that the baby was not going to be found within the parents. And then I felt a building behind there that looked like an old house or garage, and trees and grass that was growing up a hill. And when I saw the paper, it was to the exact. And when they found their remains was the same time.
Wow, yeah.
And that has happened 3 or 4 times. But then I just keep the ad, and then I keep that within me. I'll express it when I need to, but it's not about me. It's about getting the information to the people that need to have it. And sometimes Spirit shows you there's information you need to know, but sometimes you don't need to share it. And that's part of the process, too, of knowing when you need to speak up and when you don't. And so that was one of the strong cases. There was another case that it was a child, and the way that the child died was not good. So the energy was presented pretty hard, and it was my mom actually called me, and she was, I need you to talk. I'm like, I don't want to take on the energy. No. And once it did, it hit hard, and what it described is, I kept seeing a tri-level home, and in the back of the home, there was this area where this body was put in, and I kept seeing, log cabins. I kept getting 3 houses of log cabins, and then when I looked on the news, the houses, the one that was in the middle was the house, and there was 2 houses on each side, and they had the stripes going on both sides. It was just odd. And I'm like, there's the cabin look on 3 of them, and then I kept getting the ice chest. But what was funny about that, Spirit showed me to a certain information. When they don't think something's good for you, they literally just shut the energy down. And I was very frustrated. I'm like, we're up to this point of me knowing exactly what happened to her, and they said, no, I can't show you this. And sometimes things are so graphic that Spirit says, no, that's not good for you to see.
Wow.
So you learn that too. They pick and choose what you need to see too.
Yeah. Can you imagine that?
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead. I'm sorry. I was listening.
So with what's on that, so that's what you learn, what, they are in charge of the situation, even though you get frustrated and you think you need to see it, and they let you know, I'm sorry, but that's not for you. And I understood later on. I had a daughter that age, and they didn't think it was good for me.
Yeah.
So there's good reasons, but when I started seeing a consistency of it being in the paper on certain cases and kept this personal, and you pick and choose when you need to express it, but there are cases that there's nothing you can do. And then you just, what you see, you watch it unfold, and then you hold the information. So there's times that I see cases and I know they're gone, and there's nothing I can do except hold the information. What I've seen with a lot of situations is 20 years, 30 years can go by, and a case can be solved, and you can never give up.
Yeah.
Never. There's a lot of responsibility in it.
Yes, it is. Seriously.
You want to be right, but you want to give accurate information. And so what I have an issue with is just, police can only tell you certain information, so I tell them, all you have to do is present the missing case to me and just a picture, and then I'll flow with that energy. But a lot of information they can't give you anymore. You know what I'm saying? So you have to go by what the media has for you, and then you can give the information to the police department, and then they can investigate. But there's not much you can do to get the feedback until you see the case solved or not. And that's how it works. So you have to understand you're giving a lot, and you're not going to get a lot back. But the family does get a lot out of it. They need help in towards the direction of things.
They need answers, and answers is what you can provide.
Yeah, and I tell you, I can't. On each case where I am telling you where, say you're looking for a missing persons, there's a psychic crime fighter. Someone's on the phone calling them and saying, should I go left or should I go right? That's how well that site is wooed into people and touching their lives. There are amazing people over there, too. Everybody that's been in a situation in the police department has run across the information. You can't deny it. And those people give tremendous hours. Sometimes they don't get sleep for 24 hours. They do a lot of work. And those are the ones that work very hard in what they do. And the only thing they get back is the fact that child or that family member gets to go back. And that's a big resolution.
Absolutely.
I see that.
Yeah.
They're big givers.
Mm.
So with balance, you got to give it with balance too.
Yeah.
Because it can consume you too.
Oh, yeah. I know that the other thing you're going to offer, or thinking about, I think you're going to start offering, is text readings. Is that correct?
Yeah, text readings. People seem to like it because there's always people that have one or two questions about what's going on in their life. It's not always a half an hour or 45 minutes that they need. They just need one or two questions. And so I adapted my site to fulfill that need, and a lot of people use it and utilize it. And it's just presenting the questions, picking up the energy, and giving them the answers. Very easy. And then I have repeated text readers that like it on a consistent basis too. And it's just something that's very convenient, and it's modernized with everything else, with the iPhones and everything else, that they adapt very well, and they don't have time to get a full reading. So it fits their lifestyle.
Absolutely. Now, is there a charge for this type of reading, or do you do it free, or how does that work?
On the site, I have different pricings for different situations. Like, I think there's two different types of text reading. I think one's $15, and I think there's a $20. And I think 7 questions is for $15, and then I have a $20. And then I do a mini reading, which is, I don't need that much information, but I need a mini reading, which you could do. And that one, I think, is $35. So I like to put my pricing to adapt to everybody, not just, I could never charge a huge price for a reading. I just couldn't do it. It's just not fair, because I would never get the clients that need it. So I try to adapt it to what people need.
Wonderful.
And that's what's important.
Do you have a number to give the public to request text readings?
Yeah, it would be the 406-850-0613.
Perfect.
And that's the site that you would send it to. And it's usually pretty fast within the reply on that. And some people are pretty consistent about getting it. And it's just convenient for them.
That's wonderful.
And they have incidents where you're somewhere and they're feeling an energy or like, what do you think this is? And it's right there instantly. They get the instant gratification of having it. Because, some people, they want a reading and they want it now. You know what I'm saying? So it's a convenient way of adapting to those clients.
So what's next for you, Jenny? What are your plans for the future?
Well, I am doing a lot of expos. I'm started booking and started signing contracts for the next 8 months, and one is for, a lot of them are for Body Labs USA. And they put on these events, and the first one I'm starting is Jamestown, North Dakota, and then I'm going to be in Bismarck this year, and I'm going to be in Fargo, which is local for me. I mean, I resisted doing the expos because it was the way it was presented to me. I wanted just to get in there, and my goal is to get in there, give them the information that the Spirit wants me to give them that day, and that's my focus. The environment around me, I don't pay attention. It's just like, who's next? Who can I help next? That's what I focus in on. So, I mean, there's times. So what I have figured out is when I sit down and it's a consistent pattern of people coming up and needing the information, and I'm busy. I was surprised at how busy I'm just consistently, to the point that sometimes it's even hard to pull away to go to the bathroom. So that tells me that it's like, okay, this is a need that you want me to do, so I'm going to go ahead and go forward with it. And as long as they're wanting me to do that, I'm going to go forward. So I'm getting comfortable with doing that. And it's really, when you do the impersonal stuff, you get to actually help a lot in the emotional side and see them presently and connecting that way. So I have a friend that she says that I'm going to buy stock and Kleenex for you every time we do an expo.
Right.
Because she says the trail of tears are going from your booth, and then by the end of the expo, everybody's, they're like, I heard that you do this and you do this. So, but, I feel one day's not enough sometimes because I hate turning the client down when I'm booked and then they can't, so I'm like, which is the option? They can go online, they can do a Skype reading with me, they can do a phone reading. But, that one-on-one is important to them too. So I feel bad when I can't fulfill that too. So I put a lot of responsibility on myself when it comes to what I'm supposed to do, and I work hard in that realm of things. So I try to help people as much as I can. It's hard to say no.
Yeah.
So,
well, Jenny, we want to thank you very much for being on the show and letting us know what you do and how you do it.
Yeah, I really love expressing the information and putting my information out there and knowing that I'm there to help people get through their life decisions and past-seated issues, and whatever I can do, I am there to be a service to Spirit.
Our thanks to Jenny's site. Jenny is a Christian high-level psychic medium remote viewer. To learn more about Jenny, you can go to jennysite.net, like her on Facebook, and follow her on Twitter. You're listening to Healing from Within with Tony Valen on Blog Talk Radio, airing Monday through Friday, 6 p.m. Eastern, 5 p.m. Central. Visit our website, healingfromwithin.net, or contact me directly, tony@tonyvalen.com. Please follow the show on Twitter @TVHFW. The show is also available on iTunes and YouTube. Just search Healing from Within with Tony Valen. Thank you so much, and love and light from all of us here at Healing from Within.